Sheepdog Nation, what's going on? Welcome to this episode of What Every Spouse Wants Their Police Officer to Know. I'm your host, Autumn Clifford. I'm very excited, as always, to be here, to be serving you, to be sharing with you my knowledge and experience from both sides of the badge. I'm going to dive right in. We have 10 points that I want to make today. So, if you are a spouse, pull your officer right on over next to you and turn this up so that you can both listen to this together, because this is coming from my experience from actually being a spouse and an officer, but actually being a spouse. I'm currently one. My fiance is a Maine State Trooper. He also has a canine and he is gone all the time. And so this is right from my life. Okay. So the first thing that every spouse wants their police officer to know is that I'm going to fucking worry about you. Point blank, I'm going to worry about you because it's like my fucking job, right? And the things that are going to make it easier for us is going to be when we talk about it. Like, as a police officer, you are going to want to talk to your spouse about what's going on, what your training is, how you would handle the situation, how you would handle that situation. And you want to fill your spouse in. And as a spouse, just ask questions and don't questions because you're curious, not because you're trying to be naggy or not because you don't trust or believe in your police officer, because I can tell you that I fully believe in my police officer. I believe in his training, education, experience, and I want you to believe in yours. And if you don't, then we need, you guys need to start having discussions around that. Maybe start taking steps as a couple, to get healthy, to get in shape, to get fit, to, take self-defense classes, go fucking train jujitsu, MMA, go take some boxing classes, because that's going to help both of you, right? But as an officer, you need to know that your spouse is going to worry about you. The next thing is every spouse wants their officer to talk to them. This is something that is tough, right? So, as a police officer, we become emotionally shut down. We just do. It's part of the job. You got to do it. But I'm going to tell you, this is a huge problem. This is a huge problem. I don't know if you guys know this, but I got halfway through my master's degree in and I was doing a report. I was doing a research paper. And when you're going for your master's, it's all it fucking is research papers. And it was a 10-page research paper at that. And well, anyway, so I was reading the FBI statistics, I believe back in 2015. The divorce rate, it was 50%. It was like 1 out of every 2 law enforcement officers who were getting married were getting divorced. And there's a very high divorce rate in law enforcement. And I'll tell you, this is a big push as to why I'm doing this. So please pay attention. But this is huge. Officers are shutting down. When we go home as a police officer, when you go home, I know the last thing you want to do is talk, right? And if you don't want to talk about the job, then you don't need to, but you need to talk to your spouse. And I can tell you that, from experience, like Adam, he needs to decompress. So we give him, he has got decompression time. Like, he has an office, he goes in his office and he fucking does whatever he needs to do and he decompresses. And then he comes out and we can talk and we can have conversation. But it is very important as an officer that you do not shut your spouse out. Just because they're not a cop, it doesn't mean that they don't know you and they don't love you and they don't have your back. Like, you've got to know that your spouse is your everything and stop taking them for granted. So many officers I know just take their fucking spouses for granted, like they don't fucking know anything. But I'm going to tell you this right now, especially me. I know what the fuck's going on, right? And I guarantee you that if you talk to your spouse, they know you better than you know yourself, okay? If you've been with them for any, significant amount of time, they know you. They know what's going on. So if you're having, struggles, whether it's mentally or emotionally, like, talk to them because they can help you figure it out. I promise. A lot of times they can. And if they can't, then, you probably need to go either hire a life coach, go, talk to somebody if that's what you need to do. If you're going through some stuff, there's no shame in that. I'll tell you right now, I spent a few years in counseling while I was on the job. Okay. Just going to out myself right now. So if that makes you feel any better, go do it. I got diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety disorder while I was working the job, and I got it because of the job. All right. And that was something that while I was on the job, I didn't share with anybody, but I'm going to tell you that we have a very real suicide rate in police, and law enforcement. And I can tell you that it is my fucking mission to change that. We are losing over 100 officers every single year in America due to police suicide. And no one's talking about it. And I'm talking about it. And this can change. You need to not shut down as much as you want to. Okay. Like, as hard as it is, don't shut down. You're with your spouse for a reason, which leads me into my third point, which is, as a spouse, we're telling you, I am your rock, right? Your spouse is your rock. Maybe they're just new to the police life. If you're a new officer, your spouse is obviously probably really fucking new to this. Like, it's going to be a learning curve to both of you. Or if you've been a cop for a while and you're just dating, or maybe you're just getting into a marriage, it's new to them. The police wife life is new, and it's very unique, and nobody trains us for this. And here's the thing. I've been on both sides, right? Like, I was a cop. I went to an 18-week fucking academy. Then I went through like a 20-week fucking FTO program. Like, I got trained to be a cop. I did not get trained to be a police wife. Okay. And, people can say what they want, but I'm fucking telling you, it's different, and it's hard. It is hard. It is hard when, your spouse comes home and they shut down, like they don't want to talk and they're not emotional. And if that's you, pay attention to what I'm saying, because that can lead to huge problems in your marriage and in your relationship. And we don't want that. I don't want that for you. And hopefully that's why you're here. And this is why I've made this for you. So don't ever forget that your spouse is your rock. Okay. And you might just have to teach him some shit, just talk to him, teach him some shit. Like, listen, when I come home, I don't want to talk. I can't talk. I need to go, and I just need to go spend a half an hour and read a fucking book, or I need to go work out. And when I'm done working out, I promise I'm going to talk with you. That's a compromise. Make that compromise. Okay. Because it's going to save your relationship. Trust your spouse, talk with them, confide in them, let them know what's going on. The worst thing ever. I was talking to somebody, it was a while ago, and it was a police officer spouse, and somebody, either a friend of hers or a friend of her husband's, and he was an officer, he needed to go talk to somebody who was going through some mental shit, but the poor guy never even told his wife. So his wife has no idea that this husband is her police officer is going through all this shit. Like, there's nothing worse than that. There's nothing that's going to divide your family quicker. I promise. And you're like, no, Autumn, I'm fucked up. I don't feel anything when I see dead people. I don't feel anything when I see that dead crash. I've seen, enough fucking, I don't know, young people that have died. I don't feel anything anymore. I'm fucked up. Yeah. Well, guess what? You're not fucked up. You're just a cop. It's not normal for humans to feel like that. The sheep, but you're not a sheep. You're a sheepdog. And you feel like that. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, because I can relate to that. And I understand that. But that doesn't mean you get to shut out everybody in your life. And that doesn't mean that you don't get to talk to your spouse and your significant other about that stuff. Being a spouse, that, we signed up for this, right? We signed up for that. I signed up for that. I knew what it was going to be like. I didn't know fully. And I bet your spouse doesn't know fully, because you don't know it, until you're walking the walk, right? But just don't forget that your spouse is there for you, and they love you unconditionally, and or a good one does anyways, you know what I'm saying? But and confide in them, and have that line of communication be very open. The worst thing you can ever do is close that, okay? So the next thing is, from your spouse to your police officer, okay, is that spouse, after listening to me probably, is going to give you, I'm going to try to give you that time to decompress. But here's what you need to know. All my sheepdogs, here's what you need to know. Your spouses fucking miss you. We miss you. I miss Adam a lot. I mean, that is something that, when you're a cop, because I know this because I did this, you don't think about this shit. Do you know how many holidays I missed with my family? Do you know how many special occasions I just wasn't there for? Do you know how many friend get-togethers, friends who are like my family, I did not attend for years, okay? How many things for Adam that I just couldn't go to because I was 10-8. I mean, I just couldn't, you know? And and so I now that I'm on the other side of the badge, like I'm like, fuck, like I see it so much, right? But I never realized, like when my family, my mom or whatever would be like, honey, like we miss you, and I'm like, yeah, I miss you too, mom, but I'm fucking working, I'm like working, like leave me alone. But it's like, wait a minute. Those people are my everything. They're my everything. I would not be here without them. And they're telling me they miss me and I never see them. Like, doesn't it make sense to just spend a little bit of time with them? Right? Or, just kind of understand that they miss you. So maybe put in that extra phone call, spend that time with your spouse, spend that time with your wife, and your friends, because they do miss you. And this job is dangerous. And your life, what you've chosen to do for work, it's unique and it's rare. And, for fuck's sake, they miss you and you've got to understand that. Okay. And I know you need to decompress. Go decompress, take your 20 minutes, go do what you got to do, and then go spend time. And when I tell you spend time, I mean put that fucking cell phone down and spend some time with your fucking spouse. I promise it's going to save your fucking marriage. It's going to save that relationship. It's going to ensure, longevity, because there is nothing worse. And if there's a spouse on here, all the spouses listening to me, I know you're going to get an amen when I say this, but there is nothing worse than our sheepdogs coming home and not really being home because they're on their fucking phones, or they're fucking playing a video game, or they're sitting down and they're watching TV and it's more cop shows, right? And they're not paying attention to us. And it's the worst thing, because what do? You miss, as a spouse, you miss your officer. You just miss him. And so as an officer, I'm telling you this because I want you to realize it. And I just think as cops, we just don't realize it. I never did. 6-7 years on the road, I had no idea. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, shut up. Like, I'm going to work. I'm going 10-8. Like, everybody can go shut up. But then, like, now the shoe's on the other foot. I'm like, whoa, okay, I get it. And I miss that time with Adam, and I know his family, our family misses that time with him too. And so it's very important that when he's home, he's home. He's never home for long amounts of time ever, because if he's not working, he's getting a call out. So while he's home, we always focus on him really being here by putting the phone down, by us having good, meaningful conversations, by doing things together, taking the walks, maybe it's watching a movie together, not a cop show, but movies or whatever you and your spouse like to do. Like, make sure you go do that. And like, I can tell you, there's like a little hint of advice here. Like, a lot of times, like, your officer's not going to want to go do shit because they're so tired, but sometimes it's the best thing. Like, if you guys could go for walks in the woods, walks on the beach, take a drive, go out to dinner, they're going to resist it a lot, but a lot of times, like, you just need to go change their channel, get them out of work mode. And the best thing to do that sometimes is getting them out of the house. I speak from experience. Okay, so the next thing that I want to tell you from a spouse to a police officer is, as a spouse, I may not be a cop, right? May or may not be, but I'm going to go with the right now, like, I'm not a cop, so don't fucking treat me like one, right? How many times are our officers coming home and, like, listen, as a cop, like, I get it because I've done this. This is all, like, all my sheepdogs listening right now, like, I've done all this shit, okay? So, like, I'm not shitting on you. I'm just bringing it to your awareness because I've done this, okay? And so don't treat your spouses like they're the guys that you work with, okay? Like, no, they're not. They do not love the sarcasm all the time. They do not love to get shit all the fucking time, right? They don't like it when you're short. They don't like the rudeness, don't do that. Not everything's a fucking joke with your significant other, okay? So don't act like it is, and don't make it be that. Remember that you are in an emotional relationship. You are in this relationship with your spouse, a romantic one, right? And I think, we forget that. We forget because like you get so used to and accustomed, you're working 50, 60, 70, 80 plus hours a week. So you're acting a certain way all the time. And so it's just like when you come home, it's kind of like, fuck it. I don't really know how else to act. I'm just going to act this way. And it actually takes effort to act like in a romantic way. And it takes effort to be like emotionally involved with your spouse. And listen, I get that, sheepdog. I get that. But that is going to ensure the longevity in your relationship. And like, let's be honest, happy wife, happy life. We know that, right? And I don't know about y'all, but I know in my fucking house, that's how it is. And Adam knows that too. So make sure that you are treating her like your spouse, your significant other, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever she is. Okay. The next point that I want to make to you is that as a spouse, okay, if it wouldn't kill you to send me a text or two during when you're 10-8, that would be fantastic. I promise I'm not going to call you like I told you yesterday or the last time you listened to my podcast. You know, an officer doesn't want their spouses calling them every 5 fucking minutes. So I'm not going to do that as a spouse, right? But on the same token, please understand that media is fucking crazy. There's so much shit going on. And I would really appreciate a text from you every now and again. Just, hey, I miss you. Hey, everything's okay. I'm fucking busy. I'm stopping cars. Calls have been crazy. I don't give a shit just to let me know you're okay. All right? That's simple. And as the spouse, do not use this as an opening fucking invitation to go and have diarrhea of the fucking mouth and just talk all day long. Okay? Simple, short and sweet text messages. Keep them very positive, keep them very supportive. And then like, that's it. Cause we still need the sheepdog's head in the game while they're at work. And I cannot stress this enough. Okay. But as the sheepdog, as the police officer, you know, it probably wouldn't kill you to fucking send a text or two. Just say, hey, I miss you. Hey, I'm thinking of you. Hey, I'm okay. Because, we do worry. It is what it is. We do worry. The next thing, your spouse wants you to know, sheepdog, is if you're going to be late and you can like let us know, fucking let us know. Okay. Like, and I'm not saying like 10 minutes late. I'm saying like, if you're going to be fucking, 45 minutes, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours late, please let us know. And if you can't, and you got a buddy who's going 10-7 or whatever, or dispatch or whatever, let someone fucking know, like to let us know that you're okay and you're just going to be late. And I'll tell you why. What do you think? Like, what do you think your spouse thinks? Right? Like, there's a whole lot of fucking things that I know for me that I think when Adam's late and I haven't heard from him. And the biggest one is something fucking happened. Something fucking happened. He's not talking to me. He's not home. It's been fucking 2 hours and holy hell, like what's going on? Or it's been an hour. So the easiest thing, if you could just, keep in mind that, your significant other is waiting for you. Even when you are working overnights or even when you're working, the evenings and you're not coming home, you don't come home till 12 or 1 in the morning. Let me just fucking tell you, if you don't think her ass isn't getting up in the middle of the night and checking that phone to see where the hell you are when she wakes up and she's got an empty bed, you're not in there, you're supposed to be home and in bed and you're fucking not, and you don't think she doesn't have a heart attack, you're out of your mind. As I'm telling you, that has happened to me on multiple occasions. And I get it. As an officer, you don't always have the time. I get that. That's what I'm saying. Just kind of get creative, especially if you're in a fucking standoff. Like, there's no way, right? Like, you're going to be able to, like, whip out your phone and be like, hey, babe, guess what? And, like, I totally get that. But please make no mistake. Like, I'm not giving you shit about that. I just want to make you aware that, your spouse is probably going fucking 10-8 at home and, like, what the hell is going on? And you really don't want her to do that, because guess what? When you get home, it's probably not going to be fun. So see what you can do to bypass that. All right. Okay. So the 7th point I have as spouses, I hate overnights without you. So let's talk about keeping, the house and I safe. Okay, this is huge. We have a lot of new officers with new spouses. who need to talk with their spouses about staying safe at night. Okay. Like nobody likes fucking being home alone at night. I guess there's a few of you on here. There's a few of you going, yeah, Autumn, actually, I fucking like it. I get the bed all to myself. Fucking da 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 da. Great. Perfect. But a lot of us, we don't, right? We don't love being home alone at night, especially if we have children. So like go as a sheepdog, take that time and like really go over with your spouse, like what you can do to, keep your house safe. Some examples: keeping all the windows and doors locked, getting a deadbolt, having a security camera. They have this ring the bell thing. So when somebody comes and like comes on your doorstep, a camera like automatically opens. It turns on. Having, I set an alarm system, having like motion sensor lights, and just closing the curtains, keeping the shades closed, having some sort of self-defense mechanism, whether it's a firearm, a baseball bat, mace, knives, whatever it is, and keeping this open line of communication. Okay. Because this is important because being home alone at night, it's new for a lot of new sheepdog spouses. That's new. And, you really need to have some compassion for your spouse who you're out there chasing your dream, living the dream. You're a cop, you're working overnights. So just have some compassion for, your spouse and just talk to her about it. Okay. Point number 8. If I don't know how to shoot a gun, then please teach me. As your spouse, if you are a spouse who wants to learn how to shoot a gun, talk to your spouse, talk to your sheepdog about it. And sheepdog, that could be a conversation that you two are going to have. I mean, that's going to come up hands down because a gun is very much a part of your life. And usually it becomes, a part of the spouse's life. Like I know we have several guns. I have several guns around me at all times. But I also, I'm a prior police officer. But that can be a hobby that you guys take up together, but it's also something for when you're gone. Like she needs to have that if she wants it. And if you're a spouse and you don't want it, then don't feel obligated. But make sure that as a sheepdog that you take the time to talk with her about it and teach her. Okay. And then 10th thing that I wanted to talk to you and I wanted to bring to your attention as a spouse to a sheepdog is, while this job is all consuming, and it is, and I get that, right? But my life matters too. Your spouse's life matters too. So I just think that I've talked to multiple spouses, and obviously multiple officers. I've been on both sides of the badge. And I think that it is very difficult for officers to kind of detach themselves from the job and really, pay attention to what's going on in your spouse's life and be genuinely interested. And I also think that this is part of the emotional survival of law enforcement. If you haven't read that book, by the way, you need to Amazon it right fucking now and you need to listen to it and it needs to become your fucking Bible. Okay. But getting back on track, this is huge. Listen, sheepdogs, your life as a police officer, you matter. You do. You are doing something that is very respectable. You're putting yourself on the line. The job is all consuming. You're fucking consumed. You're busy. Your head is always spinning. There's so much to be, going on. And there's so much to be looking out for and boloing for, right? But at the same exact time, your wife's matter. Your wife, her life matters too. So even if she's a stay-at-home mom, you better fucking ask her about her day. You better genuinely care. And as soon as you start doing this and you make it a habit to really caring, I promise your entire relationship is going to change in a fucking instant. And you might even get laid more. Seriously, because we need to know, this is such a fucking woman thing. Okay. But I need to know that you care. I love law enforcement. Look what I do. Okay. I love it. And I love Adam's job and I love everything that comes with it. But at the same time, my life matters too. And if he can't talk to me about what's going on in my life, like, fuck him, right? Like, that's how I feel. I start getting resentful, and you don't want to do that. You do not want her resentful. I'm telling you, that shit will brew, and you guys will be fighting, and it's just bullshit, and it doesn't need to happen. And and the reason I put it in here is because it's not because you're doing anything wrong. It's because you're doing a lot of things right. All of these points are because you're a good fucking police officer. You're a sheepdog. You're fucking, you're I can't think of the word right now. You're focused. Thank you. That's the word. You're focused. You're focused on what it is that you're doing. You're driven, and you're good at what you do. And, but you need to be made aware of these points. And sometimes when she's the only one telling you this shit, you're like, yeah, fucking, yeah, you're just needy, But if you're sitting here listening to me or somebody who you don't even know, or somebody who, is objective, you might really hear it. You might really hear what I have to say. And you might be like, oh, yeah, she's right. Right. So I hope you're going to take all these points into consideration. I really hope that this is going to help you. It's going to help your relationship. I know it'll help your spouse. If you are a sheepdog, if you are a spouse, if you have anything that you want to say about this, as always, please get at me. You can direct message me right on Instagram. I'm at the Lady Sheepdog. You can email me, autumn@autumnclifford.com. Find me on Facebook. Hang out with me on Twitter, add me on Snapchat, go on YouTube. I'm pretty much everywhere. So, but Instagram is going to be your best bet, or you can email me. I really hope that this hit home. This is deep and vulnerable shit. This is real deal, straight from my life, and I really hope that it helps you. I hope that you've been enjoying this podcast, or this episode of Sheepdog Nation. This podcast show was created for sheepdogs and their spouses. And we're going to be talking about all sorts of different topics. But if you have questions, or if there's a topic that you want me to talk about specifically, again, please direct message me on Instagram at the Lady Sheepdog, or email me at autumn@autumnclifford.com so that we can make that happen. All right. Okay, I will see you next time. Thanks again for being here. If you made it this way, all this way, you are a fucking sheepdog. You are a fucking star. I love you. Okay, bye.